The following is a true story about a glass of wine that changed 3 lives forever. But before we start, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any future uploads. The small town of Little Italy, New York. A young man named Michael Corleone sat at a table outside a local restaurant, savoring the taste of a fine Italian red wine. He took a sip and closed his eyes in pleasure. This was more than just a drink for him. It was a symbol of his success, a reward for his hard work and dedication. And it wasn't only because he loved the taste of wine. It was also because he knew that his late father would have been proud of him for making it in the family business. He turned to see an elderly woman standing by his table. She had a kind face and her eyes seemed to twinkle with wisdom. "I'm sorry," he said, startled by her sudden appearance. "Oh, Michael," she said, "in that life you were a happy young boy with a loving family and a bright future ahead of you. There was no violence or bloodshed, only joy and laughter." Suddenly, he felt a rush of energy and strength flow through him. He felt as though he had known her for years and confided in her about his fears and doubts. "You don't have to follow that path, Michael," she said. "You have the power to choose your own destiny." Michael looked at her in disbelief. "But I'm a Corleone," he said. "It's in my blood." He was no longer the same Michael Corleone, who had sat at that table sipping wine and contemplating his dark future. With one glass of wine, he managed to transform his entire life. If you would like to support the channel and potentially have your name at the end of one of these videos, please consider donating using the link in the description. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Don't wait for fate to intervene. Take control of your destiny and make the changes you need to make. You may not have an elderly woman to guide you like Michael did, but you do have the power within yourself to create the life you want. All it takes is a little faith and a whole lot of courage. He was a man on a mission, a man who was ready to change his life and make something good of himself. "Your blood doesn't define you," Maria replied. "You are more than your family's legacy. You are a good man, Michael, and you can choose to do good things with your life." For the first time in his life, he felt like he was truly being heard and understood. He told her about the pressure he felt to continue his family's legacy of violence and bloodshed, and how he longed for a different path. He felt as though he was breaking free from the chains that had been holding him back for so long. Michael closed his eyes, trying to picture the scene. He could almost feel the warmth of the sun on his skin, and hear the sound of children laughing. It was a world away from the darkness that had become his reality. "I didn't mean to stare. It's all right," she replied with a gentle smile. He had never considered the possibility that he could break free from his family's past, but now he wasn't so sure. He was going to find a different path, one that didn't involve violence and bloodshed. He looked at Maria and said, "I want to change." Maria smiled and reached out to take his hand. "Then let us go," she said, "and I will show you the way." Together they left the restaurant and walked into the night. The stars twinkled above them, and the air was filled with the sound of crickets. As they walked, Michael felt lighter than he had in years. He knew that he had a long way to go, but he was determined to make the journey. He didn't want to disappoint his father's memory, but as he thought about the life he had been living, he knew that he couldn't keep going down this path. He wanted to make Maria proud, and he wanted to be proud of himself. Of course, Maria replied, taking his hand, "All you have to do is believe." Just then, the waiter arrived with a new bottle of wine and poured it into 2 glasses. "Here," Maria said, taking a glass from him. "Let us share this moment together." Michael hesitated for a moment before taking the other glass. As they clinked glasses, he looked into Maria's eyes and saw a depth of understanding and compassion that he had never seen before. "I couldn't help but notice that you seemed troubled. Perhaps I could help." Before Michael could respond, she had already taken a seat at the table. "Also, stick around until the end to hear a fun fact about this very video." "I've seen a lot of sadness in your eyes, Michael," she said softly. "I know you're trying to do what you believe is right, but you're carrying a heavy burden. You don't have to do this alone." Michael hesitated, unsure of what to say. He had never opened up to anyone about his problems, not even his closest friends and family. But something about this mysterious woman put him at ease. He had watched his father, Vito Corleone, become the most powerful mob boss in the city. "And I believe that we have met before in another life. A life filled with sunshine and laughter. A life before all this darkness." Michael felt a surge of emotion at her words. He had never believed in fate or destiny, but maybe there was something to it. Maybe this woman was sent to help him break free from the darkness that had consumed him for so long. And from a young age, Michael had decided that he wanted to follow in his father's footsteps. Michael nodded, and the waiter disappeared into the kitchen. As Michael waited for his wine, he couldn't help but stare into the darkness beyond the twinkling lights of the restaurant. He thought about his life and the choices he had made to get where he was today. He wondered if there was more to life than the violence and bloodshed that seemed to follow him everywhere he went. As he grew older, he learned the ways of the Mafia, the art of persuasion, intimidation, and violence. He became a skilled businessman and a ruthless killer, feared and respected by his enemies. Now, at the age of 32, he had risen to the top and become the new boss of the Corleone family. It was a warm summer night in 1997. The sky was filled with bright stars, and the air was thick with the smell of freshly cut grass. Michael had always been ambitious, even as a child. As he sat there enjoying his wine, he couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction. He had come a long way since the days when he was a young boy watching his father run the family business. Now he was at the top, and he had all the power and respect that came with it. But as the night wore on, he began to feel a nagging feeling of unease. He couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing, that there was something more to life than just power and respect. Just then, a waiter approached his table and asked if he would like to order another bottle of wine. Suddenly a voice broke through his thoughts. "You look troubled, Michael. How can you help me?" he asked, still confused by her sudden appearance. "What's your name?" he asked. "My name is Maria," she replied. "Tell me about this other life," he whispered. "Tell me about the sunshine and laughter." Maria smiled and her eyes twinkled. "Can we go back to that life?" he asked hopefully. "Thank you," he whispered, taking a sip of the wine. It tasted different this time, sweeter and more vibrant. Over the next few hours, Michael and Maria talked about life, happiness, and the meaning of existence. Maria listened patiently, and when he was finished, she spoke in a soft, soothing voice. Michael felt a glimmer of hope at her words. Suddenly he made a decision. He was going to change his life. With Maria by his side, he felt as though he could do anything. So if you ever find yourself stuck in a bad place, remember the story of Michael Corleone. And now for the fun fact. This video was made possible by a generous donation from a fan.